6 new Helliquary bosses and more coming to Diablo Immortal. Inside of this video, we have information from our data miner, and the information is as follows on the screen. After we go through these new Helliquary bosses, we have more information as well, so stay tuned. My name is Echo. Make sure you subscribe for daily Diablo Immortal videos. So the data miner, if you have never been here before, he looks through the code of the game and pulls out information regarding what's up and coming and what's being worked on inside of the game. None of this information is from Blizzard. None of this information is set in stone, but I will tell you our data miner at DatamineARPG over on Twitter has been absolutely flawless in his data mining and the information that he's given over the past year. So nothing is set in stone, but it all looks really good. That's the best way of looking at this right here. Let's see what he has to say. New Hearthrot Helliquary. Soon, 6 new raid bosses will be made available. Now, remember, Helliquary bosses, as you get higher and higher and higher, you need higher combat rating to be successful in these raids. I am currently 700 plus combat rating, and Helliquary bosses are still difficult, all right? We could go up to, I believe it's 800 Paragon level at the current Hell level 8, and that's when we'll probably be able to transition over to these when we go to those higher levels, which Paragon levels are going to continuously grow and increase as we play the game over time and as the game grows with us. So we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These are going to be a total of 16 Helliquary bosses fightable by us. And the first one is Saradan. The next one is Strazos, the Steadfast Decay. Then we have Zulul, the Crooked Grin. Then Yamanal. Next we have Zansun. And finally we have Gebdu Mountain Breaker. Now, there's not a lot of information on this. As you can see, he says that this is a work in progress. And actually, the first comment that we see is actually an informative one for those of you that aren't at this spot. Yeah, first they need to reduce Helliquary difficulty for new bosses. Right now, the last Helliquary boss is 16,666 combat rating, which means the current most recent last Helliquary boss requires 16,666 combat rating to be effective in defeating it. Now, of course, you could defeat it with lower, but it's a lot more difficult. So we can assume that it's going to be above 17,000 combat rating needed to take on our 11th and our newest Helliquary boss, Saradan. So we'll see how that goes, but I like seeing new things like this coming to the game, new challenges, more reason for us to push combat rating, right? Obviously you want to push combat rating to become stronger inside of the game, but pushing combat rating also so you can increase your ability or enhance your chances of fighting in different fights inside of the game. Well, that's a whole different story to push, and this is one of them with Helliquary. Now, I did mention that we have more here, again, coming from DatamineARPG over on Twitter. We have a new enemies, or some enemies returning that we're going to see in the new zone. Remember, in the blog post, we had information about a new zone coming to Diablo Immortal, along with a new class. This one here, your pursuit of the Cult of Terror will lead you and Zatham to a mysterious island inhabited by reclusive people. Now, remember the new hero, the Cult of Terror or whatnot, the pursuit of the Cult of Terror. In mid-June, you'll embark on the next chapter of the main quest line, discover a new PvP zone event, side quests, bounties, and enemy zones along the way. Now, there's going to be a lot to unpack here over time. This is going to be very cool. And by the way, let's give a little heart on it. You guys should come on over here too and heart all of this stuff for his information. Now, without going into much detail, the Path Stone is the key to the island's heart, and numerous old and new characters may appear or be mentioned, including, now again, he's seeing these names in the code. He doesn't know if we're fighting them, if they're just in the lore, if they may just be in the background. We don't know, but these are some of the characters we may see. Adria, the Bride of Hell, Archangel, which is Tyrael, Baal, Lord of Destruction, Diablo, Lord of Terror, and Lilith and Inarius. Well, excited for D1, Diablo Immortal and Diablo 4. Now, Lilith and Inarius. That would be insane if we saw them inside of Diablo Immortal, in my opinion. I would absolutely love that. And what I actually talked about in yesterday's video is there's just a nice mixture that I'm seeing here happening between new stuff coming to Diablo 4 and sharing that inside of Diablo Immortal as well. The sharing of assets between their mobile client and their PC client, which are completely different games, in my opinion, is fantastic, and I want to see more of it, and I think that we will. Prior to this, we have more information from our data miner, and that is the new zone. I believe this was shared at some point again in time before, but we're going to look at it right here again. Ancient's Cradle, the Cradle of Sanctuary. I have already released a picture of the new zone previously, assuming it would be included in the major content update. However, it seems that Blizzard decided to save the content for the anniversary instead, which is the 1-year anniversary, which is the incoming update we've all been talking about. This is the new zone. And if you take a look, there's a nice central hub section right there in the middle. It extends out to the right and has some type of a teleport to go into this other zone, kind of like we've seen in some of the current maps inside of Diablo Immortal. And then another section that branches off to the left. We spoke yesterday and talked about how this zone, I foresee it being filled with acid and things like that based on the final boss that we discussed yesterday. If you missed that video, go check it out. All the details on what we know there are in that video as well. But it's going to be really cool to have a new zone. Now, keep in mind, when you have a new zone inside of the game, that's what it is. It's a new zone. It's something that you explore, something that you maybe have a dungeon inside of. You get new enemies from, but it's a zone. It's not something that's replayable and replayable and replayable over and over again. Now, obviously, you can go back there for bounties and things like that, which is obviously what we all do, completing our bounties every single day. But it's not something that's evergreen long-term content that we have for the long term, that we're just like, yes, I'm going to be going over to the Ancient's Cradle, to the Cradle of Sanctuary today. I'm just going to hang out there and farm. No, we farm in the best farming spot inside of the game, which is actually going to be my video coming out tomorrow. New farming technique that I found out. It's a little cheap, I'll tell you that, but it's amazing. I worked on it last night, and I have a video coming for you guys tomorrow. That was bumped back because I wanted to bring you this breaking information. But yeah, the new zone's going to be cool. Although I'm more excited about the HELLIQUARY bosses, and besides that, I'm actually, you know what? I think I'm more excited about the new zone than the HELLIQUARY bosses. What about you guys? HELLIQUARY bosses or new zone? What's the bigger deal? And I would probably say that the biggest deal about the 1-year anniversary is the new class, the Shadow Knight, not the Blood Knight. But here are our 6 new HELLIQUARY bosses we can look forward to, which will probably take us through 6 months to a year's worth of time trying to get the combat rating to defeat these monstrosities of enemies. Let me know what you guys think about the incoming update. Are you excited? I definitely am, and I can't wait to see it all go down in Diablo Immortal. Make sure you check out the data miner at DatamonARPG. I'll be linking his Twitter in the description of this video. Subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.